and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you. So I decided that I wanted to build an oasis spring, which is basically like this desert area, but I wanted to build like this really, well, it's a lush oasis. So I ended up creating this, it looks like a loft on the inside. The bigger portion of the build ends up being, the second floor is the bedroom. But I wanted it to be like this plant lover's paradise, just lush greenery everywhere. Basically wondering how this actually ended up in Oasis Springs because it is just such a desert. So anyways, I wanted it to be a smaller house. I didn't want it to be huge, but I knew that I wanted a lot of vegetation, and I also wanted like a really awesome backyard that included a pool and some skill building items. So we will end up having like the florist table out there, and actually some beekeeping stuff out there as well, along with the pool. So just like someone who kind of really likes doing floral arranging and taking care of stuff outside, this would be the perfect house for them. And so here at the beginning, I actually had a hard time kind of deciding what I wanted the porch to look like, but I knew I wanted it to be this like large area that would be kind of really relaxing to hang out in, if that makes sense. And I decided to use this like stone facade, at least on this portion of the build. The other portion of the build is going to be like a light green, which I end up using throughout the build. It kind of makes sense to me since it's supposed to be like vegetation and greenery everywhere. And I believe actually later on I figure out that I didn't line up those windows properly on the back and the front of the house, but don't worry, I end up fixing them later. So they don't look weird the whole time. But again, I just put another like entertaining space out back that'll eventually have like a grill and a table on it, so you can go and hang out back there. And I say like you as if you would move in, but you know, it does sound nice to be able to go there and just hang out on the porch. And I don't know why, but that particular like vine thing worked really well in the front, but in the back there's like a giant gap between it and the house, and I just could not for the life of me get it to stay. It kept wanting to like clip and like hop up into the deck that I had back there, so I ended up just taking them out. But don't worry, we do end up adding a lot more vegetation in the back. I actually end up creating these almost like custom planters behind what ends up being the railing back there. And then I wanted to like up top, I have no idea how you'd water any of this or take care of any of this at all. So it's definitely not realistic, but it ends up, I think, looking really pretty on top. So I just add just a bunch of different plants up there, and I use those throughout the build. So there's definitely a couple of different places of flower beds around the property, and I use all of these flowers repeatedly and just threw in some rocks as well. And it's funny, I wanted to put some terrain paint up there, but then I realized you can't put terrain paint on floor because this is actually like the grass flooring, if that makes sense. So like that took me a minute to figure out like, oh wait, this isn't terrain paint, so I can't just paint over it. But anyways, I figured you're probably not even looking that much up. And so we end up actually adding in, again, a flower bed here in the front. So I experimented with a couple different terrain paints because I like the idea of it being like this lush like walk up with stones, but I wanted lush, but I didn't want it to be like neon green in comparison to the rest of the property. So I didn't like any of the ones we had there. And so it'd be something like that, and that's just super bright, but I use it underneath the plants so it looks like it all goes together, if that makes sense. Like the plants have a nice background so that they can pop out against that. And then again, just reusing all of those plants from up top. And I do end up like on the porch, I just end up having like a rocking chair, and then I do add like a little couch, like not a ton of stuff, but just enough to where like somebody could go sit out there. And I just think it's funny that we have this giant dinosaur in the back. I actually still don't even know what that's for, but it's just funny to me. You can see it like later on in the screenshots. There's like a perfect shot of that dinosaur off in the background. So this house actually has a really awesome view, I think, personally. But you could also use the roof, like, I mean, I put vegetation all over it, but you could put a ladder up there and make that like another like sitting area, entertaining space if you wanted to. But I decided since it had the front and back porches that it would be fine if we left it just with vegetation. But I think it'd be pretty cool to have like a fire pit out there or something. But again, like I feel like I need to like renovate the builds that I already make because then I come up with more ideas for them. And so back here, I just end up adding, this little seating area. And then a couple planters in case your sim actually wants to plant. Like I said, I put the flower arranging table out back, so gives your sim a place to actually plant things and harvest them for the flower arranging if you choose to actually use it. And then here in the back is when I actually end up kind of walling off this like little area because I really wanted to put some stuff there, and I really hated that those vines didn't work out, but I didn't just want to put a bunch of like potted plants there, so I just made these like custom little planters, and I used the same thing where I put the grass tiles underneath it and then just put a bunch of vegetation on top of it. And then I thought it worked out really well. And then just adding a couple of plants over by the grill. I keep feeling like they would like catch on fire or something, which is ridiculous, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's The Sims and like everything catches on fire, it feels like. But that's, just kind of crazy sounding. And I end up putting this I don't take up the whole yard because it just felt like really huge. And then I put the bushes around it, which it's funny because originally I was just going to put the bushes on the outside of the fence. And then so you have like the fence and then the bushes on the other side. But then I ended up actually putting the fences like in the middle of the bush. So you can't actually see the fences. So that's really ridiculous. So there's extra money spent there. So anyways, if you download the house and you actually want to delete those out, please feel free to do so. I think it was when I was building, it was just kind of oh, the bushes were great. And then all of a sudden the bushes swallowed up the fence. And then, anyways, so that's what it is now. And I ended up putting, and I've never done that before, putting that planter right at the edge of the pool. I wish it had a feature where you could almost have a waterfall into the pool. That would be really cool. And I feel would look really good with this build. But if you can do that, I have no idea how to do that. And then I put another planter back there, and we do actually end up extending it a little bit later because it just felt weird. I didn't really know what to put behind the pool, but I felt like there needed to be something, but it just kind of felt empty. And I end up putting a bird bath in the corner, and then I'm oh, this just feels weird. So I just end up extending the planter box kind of thing, whatever you want to call it. Flower bed, that's what I think I'm looking for. I just extend it out, and I do end up leaving, again, another flower box, and that's actually one from Eco Lifestyle. And I don't plant a lot, but I'm pretty sure that has some sort of special quality that makes it easier to keep up with plants, but I'm not entirely sure, but I just thought it kind of looked nice and professional. And then I thought it was funny, I actually ended up extending the pool out basically into the bushes, and as I'm watching this, I'm wondering if your sim will end up swimming and then swim into the bush, but that's cool. And it really is not realistic because you'd have all the stuff from the bushes falling into the pool, but luckily we don't actually have to worry about cleaning the pools. I believe it was a different version of The Sims that you actually had. Was it The Sims that you had to actually clean the pools because they would get dirty? But at least, or maybe it was another game that I'm thinking about, but I thought that was a realistic touch. I think you have to do that, was it with the hot springs? The game with Snowy Escape, if I remember correctly, but I don't use that too often, or at least I haven't gone to that world. I guess I actually need to build there because I really haven't. I've spent a lot of time. I actually really like doing apartments, and because sometimes I just don't, you don't feel like doing all the landscaping, you're not feeling creative with landscaping. I just end up doing a lot of apartments. But I just, like I said, got inspired to do just a bunch of plants and everything, which is so insane. Thinking about having to actually keep up with all that would be crazy. But again, just some more planters and that adorable gnome that I've actually never used, but I saw him and I was he has to go in the backyard. He has to be here on this lot. And then I just put a couple of lawn chairs so you can hang out by the pool. And I thought about putting another table out there, but you have one on the back porch, so I didn't feel like you needed it. And then that's where I end up putting the bee boxes, and I had a hard time figuring out exactly what I wanted to put there because I didn't want it to be an empty space, but I wanted it to be something useful, if that makes sense, not just decorative. So as we're moving on inside, I actually believe I start with that loft area, and so that just becomes the bedroom. And it's funny, when I was building the house, I wasn't even considering where the bathroom was gonna go. So when I started on the inside, I was oh wait, I have no idea where I'm doing that. And then I was oh, I'm just really excited to do the loft. So then I go and do the loft, and then I was I'll figure out the bathroom later. So I knew I didn't want the bathroom upstairs because there wasn't a ton of room So I just kind of wanted to be that bedroom space. And it's just so pretty with all these windows everywhere. Like, just, I don't know, I feel like it looks really awesome. Although in real life, I don't know if I'd want that many windows because I feel like people are like you could see into my house. But again, this is a Sims and it really doesn't matter. And that does present quite a challenge when we go down to the bathroom because I did put windows everywhere and how to fit in the bathroom. And like, again, it's the Sims, doesn't matter. But I kind of wanted to have a little bit of realism when I was doing that. And I just added in the cabinets that came with Dream Home Decorator. And I use those a lot because I just like being able to do that custom design of exactly what you want it to look like. And I thought it was really cool to have those little dressers and then the nightstands kind of attached to it. And like it's one big built-in piece. And then I actually I struggled a little bit here trying to put stuff on top of those dressers. Things just like clip weird to it. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I just feel like things just don't go where I think they're going to go. And then I ended up finding that bouquet, the flower arrangement from the wedding pack, and I was like, this is perfect. It has the peach from the bed, and I was actually very, very excited about that plant that I added. And I do use it, I think, downstairs too on the dining table because I just had to use it again. And then we just don't put a ton up here. Like we end up adding like something on the wall and a rug, and then just some like little footstool chair things over by the windows. And I had a hard time though with the curtains as well, especially with like, because I kind of wanted to match since it's all in the same space, and I felt like if you were up there and like you were seeing all the windows at one time, you'd want them to match, because I don't know. But so I ended up just going with these, and I like to think that they're like really fancy blinds and like they have a button and you can like just lower them whenever you want to, especially the ones that are like outside of that loft space or they're really tall. And I actually ended up adding another window because I thought it'd be nice to actually be able to see out from your bed. And then I was thinking about adding some stuff on that wall, but then I just thought I'd leave it, you know, and just let it be not super cluttered. And then I had a little bit of a struggle with this kitchen because, again, because of that window and the door, I didn't want like any cabinets in front of the window, and it couldn't be in the way of the door. And so that was the struggle I was having. And also just the color scheme that I had come up with since I started up in the bedroom. And we do actually go back to the other wooden cabinets that I had earlier, but it took me a minute to figure out that that's actually what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to do this like counter into this like built-in like table situation. And then just trying to make sure it kind of fit, and your sim should have enough room to get around. And I didn't want it like right up on the window, especially because it wasn't centered, but I didn't want to move the window because the window was already centered on the house. And I'd already decorated the outside, the struggles of window placement. And I also, because I didn't want necessarily the kitchen to just be that one wall, and that's why I have those extra two like island cabinets. And you saw there for a second, I tried to use pink to pull it in, but it just seemed really heavy, if that makes sense. So I just swapped it to that green that's kind of basically in the rest of the house, and then added some plain white tile, and then just pulled in the pink in the chairs. And then for the window, I end up using these drapes, and I think it helps a little bit because the table is not quite centered, but I think the curtains are busy enough to where it takes away from that. But anyways, because I just couldn't put it there and still have stuff behind it because, you know, your sim couldn't get around it. And I actually at this point have forgotten about the trash can, but don't worry, I come back and put one in so your sims will be able to get rid of their trash and not have to like walk outside every time they want to do that. And then I'm just adding a little bit of clutter. I don't think I put a ton of clutter in here, but just a little bit, so it looks like, you know, somebody lives here. And there's tons of cabinetry, so maybe all their stuff's up there. And then I wish, you know, those cabinets have the same stuff, like clutter in them. I wish you could change that. I wish it kind of had different options so it didn't look like this person just had the exact same set of books like 4 different times. But, you know, that's just me, you know, wishing to have something new in The Sims. Always just new things. And then just adding some paper towels. And then I was trying to put it behind those dishes, and it just didn't want to work, so we just put it off to the side. It's totally fine. And then just adding some more spices and then some cooking utensils, and then just a quick coat rack, and again, not too much. And so I cut a lot of this out, but I spent a whole lot of time trying to put in a rug underneath the dining room table, but it just did not look right. So that runner was kind of my fix for that. And so this ended up being the bathroom, and because there's a giant window, huge window, I ended up putting like that half wall. I was thinking like, so then the toilet's on that side, so you have like a little bit of like privacy. And then I was gonna use the bathtub that had the curtain on it, but they just did not fit well, so color-wise, so I used that one instead. So I guess people can see through the window and then just see through the glass of the shower, but you know what, if you're going to the bathroom, it's fine. So anyways, I end up putting some curtains on it again with the idea that maybe you put the blinds down when you're actually in the bathroom. But it's actually a pretty sizable bathroom, and I didn't do any like tons of clutter in here, and just kind of basic. And then I end up putting like a cute little desk space over in the corner, so that like your sim has somewhere to do work or go down the computer or whatever it is that they're doing. And then I end up just putting a little bit of clutter on the bookshelves, those funky looking bookshelves. And I actually ended up sizing down those books that I just put up there. So they're like really tiny. I don't know, maybe they're like little photo albums or something. And then actually that's the Dream Home Decorator like career thing I put on there. It just looks like, you know, some stuff you might be working on at your desk. And then just a cute small seating area, because I didn't need anything super huge since this was only for maybe like 2 Sims. And then there was plenty of seating outside as well. And so just a TV, and I end up having like a chair and a small couch. Again, nothing too crazy. I feel like a lot of times I put a lot of clutter and things in houses. So this one was a little more minimal, at least in what I'm usually doing. But I do like the way it came out. I finally used that plant. I wanted to use it in several other places, but it just never seemed to work right. But I thought it looked nice kind of back behind that chair. And then don't worry, I know if you've watched my other builds, then you'd know I always use this particular, I think it's Jungle Adventures mirror. It makes an appearance. It just wasn't in the bedroom, but it will be down here in the living room. So don't fear, it will be here. And then end up just adding another plant, shocker, I know. And then again, that one, I know I've said this before, like I feel like I always want to put that on a table and not on the ground. But anyways, we're actually nearing the end of the build at this point. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And you can actually download this off the Sims Gallery under my Sims Gallery ID, which is Spice and Sprinkles. It is found in the description below if you want to see how it is spelt. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.